where dreams collide. High road roaring every night. Spotlight on Spurs, feel the fight. Spotlight on Spurs, hearts ablaze through the cheers and cloudy days. From the lane to glory's flight. Spotlight on Spurs, shine so bright. Echoes rise when we take the field. This is passion, nothing concealed. Through the tackles, joy ignites. Spotlight on Spurs, burning lights. Feel the tempo, sweet and wild. London's warriors never mild. Every challenge we endure. Spotlight on Spurs, loud and pure.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight on Spurs. Still, we don't know what's happening with the manager. Still, we don't know what's happening around the ownership. Still, we haven't made a sign-in and everybody else is. How have we managed in 2 weeks to kill all of the hype of winning a trophy and getting into the Europa League? Well, only Spurs could do that. Moving on to today's episode, we are going to be having a look at our first 11 compared to the rivals in the teams that finished in the top 5 in the Premier League. Joining me today, we've got 2 people making their debuts on the channel. So obviously, I want to say a massive, massive welcome and thank you for coming on to Mr. Manny, designated Hotspur. How are we doing, sir?
Thank you so much for having me, Luke, man. That's a good question. I don't know. Probably the same as every single Spurs fan, whether you're Ange in, Ange out, Ange in the middle. Everyone is just absolutely tired and want answers. But hey ho, here we are. So yeah, can't complain. But thanks so much for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And then the second person coming on making their debut, everyone will already know this man, part of the YouTube legendary Spurs status, Mr. Box Office himself. If you don't know, you're muted.
Get to know. Yeah. I don't know why you're saying I'm legend. I don't think I'm legend. I don't think there's a legend there, to be honest with you. I mean, I do rattle some people like on the top there, Manny. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, I don't think. Doing? Yeah, but I'm good. I'm good, then. So I'm good. I'm not so. I'm just a bit confused about certain opinions out there, but. You know, it is what it is. But you know, it's if you concentrate on what's on social media, this is what Spurs fans are like on social media, deluded. You know what I mean? So you know, there's not really much to say.
We've all got a delusion about us, I think.
I know. So it's like it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just you just got to be certified like Mr. Box Office, and you know. Be stubborn about your opinion, and then you know you'll be absolutely fine. You know what I mean? So I'm relaxed in that sense.
Did you expect to be in this situation 2 weeks after winning the Champions League? Did you expect to be in a position where we don't know anything? Basically, we don't know manager, owners, board level changes, transfers. There's not even.
I wasn't expecting the whole file about what's going on with the board, no. But I was expecting a decision to be made on the manager, yeah, because I think it's quite clear what needed to be done. But unfortunately, we've got a fan base that had decided that they didn't want him. Made the decision on the manager before the match, and now made the decision that they want to keep the manager after the match, which makes no sense whatsoever. So, you know,
let's start there. So, Manny, I believe you was very much an Ange in. Leading up to the final, what was your stance on Ange before the final?
I've made it very, very clear. I've always said I wanted the guy in. I've always mentioned why I want the guy in. I felt football not being linear means that a lot of times people think based on certain things that, you know, he's either not good enough or he's this or he's that. You know, he should. A lot of people said he shouldn't have even been in charge of the final. And yeah, lo and behold, he won the final. Obviously, the league position and what's happened in the league was absolutely atrocious, and he has to answer for that. But what did surprise me after the final is how people, well, as box office said, how people reacted. And I was at the parade on the Friday, and the number of people chanting his name, you would have even forgotten that people wanted him out, to be completely honest. So yeah, my stance hasn't changed, especially after hearing who we're going for. I'm even more wanting him to stay now in comparison to the guys that we're being linked with. But again, that's for debate, man. That's for debate. I think what the board has managed to do is to have Ange in, people who want Ange in and people who want Ange out, to agree on the fact that whether you're sacking him or you're keeping him, just make a decision. At least that's what we all agree on. Just make a decision. If you want to sack him, do it now. Don't wait till everybody snapped everyone up in the transfer market. But hey ho.
Yeah, completely agree. Mr. Box Office, what was your thoughts before and what was your thoughts after the final? Did they change?
Even though I said that we're going to win the competition after Frankfurt, which now, if you believe in what one journalist has said, it was the players that changed Ange's tactics. It wasn't him, which is exactly what I said at the start, because I knew that it wasn't him, because the Brighton game couldn't really summed it up for me. I said I wanted him out because I said, well, what is the point? He's not a coach. Nothing's improved. This cut run, beating Frankfurt, was the only team that was actually decent. And let's be honest here, if they scored a goal, we would have lost that game. Beating Bodo Glimt was not a challenge as far as I'm concerned. And beating Man United, it was a terrible final, but we're always going to beat them. So it would just beat him, by the way. So for me, it was quite easy. Get rid of him. And I still say get rid of him. But unfortunately, and I think Simon Jordan, who's rattled a few cages, by the way, even one guy that I've been on the show with, and he said I need to smile, but now he knows the feeling about being rattled, rattled a few cages, because they know that Simon Jordan's talking a lot of truth. If it's Daniel Levy, if he's not emotional about it and being the businessman he is, he's getting rid of Postecoglou. If he's taking the emotion out of it, emotion into it, then he keeps Postecoglou. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the next few weeks before the season starts, or after the season starts, or 10 weeks before the season starts, and we have a bad run? What's he going to do? He's going to sack the manager. What we're going to do then? You know what I mean? This is what the fan base are saying. Give him a few weeks. Give him a few months. So that means you don't believe in the man. You don't believe in the fan. You don't believe in the manager. You do not believe in the manager.
As what Manny's saying, though, if we bring in a manager, and big up Jordan, do reg diaries. Thanks for coming on, brother. How we doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Sorry for coming late, people. I know, I can clearly see Mr. Box Office has already got started, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it because standards need to be set, and I'm glad Mr. Box Office is letting the people know, man. We're a big club. We won a big trophy, and Levy needs to start acting like.
Well, I'm not a flip flop. That's the thing. That's the difference. The difference is I'm not a flip flop. You know what I mean? Because like I say, I've got the standards. You know what I mean? The standards of excellence. The standards of excellence is coming to the building. You know what I mean? And that's just what they have to do. You know what I mean?
Going what you just said about if he starts and then after 6, 7, 10 games, whatever it is, he's struggling and then they want to get rid of him. don't you think that also works the other way now? Because if he's left it so long, he hasn't made a decision. Let's just use Frank's the favourite. So let's say Frank comes in and 10 games in, he's struggling. We've got maybe one win. We're sitting 15th, 16th. Then the pressure's on just as much. It's almost like he's, in a way, for me, it's almost like he's got more pressure making a change now. If we didn't win it and he made a change, no one really cares. Everyone's like, well, he deserved it. He's had a terrible season, blah, 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 blah. Because he's won that trophy now. If you bring in someone else and they don't hit the ground running, I feel like Levy's in a real bad spot. Do you not think?
Why is he in a bad spot? Yeah, it's pressure on him, but at the end of the day, we were 17th.
Yeah, but we also won a first trophy a long time.
Won a first trophy, yeah. But if you look at context, we look at the teams we've beaten. You know what I mean? You just can't base it on beating on fate. You can't. No, well, don't. Okay, unfortunately, truth hurts. Truth hurts.
We haven't won anything.
You're beating Frankfurt, right? That didn't have Mamouche, right? And like I said, if they scored the goal, we would have lost that game because our strike force was absolutely bang average, right? Which was bang average against Bodo Glimt and also Man United. Yeah, it wasn't a great game. We weren't that great. Yeah, Solanke was firing blanks. Johnson only scored a jammy goal.
But this is the problem.
Yeah.
Wait. This is where I'm going to cut in, Alex. This is where I'm going to cut in. No. And the main event, guess what, Alex? I'm not finish because I'm not going to let the main event finish.
No, let the main event. Okay.
We're going to have some chaos. And with this, no. You cannot be a man that holds standards and says you want to win things and then complain about the performance in the final. Because if we had Jose Mourinho, big Jose, we know what he does in finals. He stinks out the gaff. He gets a goal and he parks the bus like a real Italian manager. And that's what they do. They're specialists at it and they win doing it. So I'm not going to have you complain about the performance in a final. I'm not going to have it. You can say anything you want. I'm not going to have you complain about performance in the final because ultimately it was a game-winning performance and you can't deny it.
100%.
Did I ever complain about the final, the performance of the final?
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. No, don't put words in my mouth. See, I've already rattled them already. I've already rattled these two already.
It's only been 2 seconds. He even got one in the chat that said he had to go because he could take at least his takes. See what I'm saying about this Tottenham fan base? You know what I mean? It's so easy to rattle them. But the point I'm making is, though, yeah? Right? Yeah, we won the final. I gave him credit. But I'm sorry, take your flowers and goodbye. Because I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, he's not improved anybody in the squad, right? We were getting worse and worse and worse and worse. The fact that he said he dismissed the season after January was despicable. Absolutely despicable. Right? The fact is, the only reason why he's done it because he had breathing space for the relegation teams, right? Okay, didn't get past 38 points. The fact is, right? No, because Manny, Movement's still speaking, right? The thing is, though, yeah, right, is that as far as I'm concerned, that cup should not save him, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, he was making excuses about injuries. Right, when he could have done better with those players, right? The fact that now we're hearing from a certain journalist that he didn't make that decision to change, the players did, which I told you that already.
Nonsense.
It's not nonsense. It's not nonsense, Manny. It's not nonsense because if you look at what's happened, in that competition since we did the pragmatic football against Man City, Brentford, and other teams as well, we went back to Ange ball straight away. So as far as I'm concerned, there was no consistency. So it was not him, right? And I've seen this fact. And after there was a long break,
there was consistency in the Europe, all of the European games.
Yeah, but
it started off with the first one against the away game against AZ Alkmaar. It started off with that game, the 3-1, we started to play that way. And then again, we played that way in the games against Frankfurt, both of them. And then again, we played that way against Bodo Glimt. So you can't say that, that it was the players. It was clearly a managerial instruction.
Well, so
now, I'm with you. Wait, Alex, I'm with you. I agree that Ange needs to go. We have to set the standard that he's lost 22 games. We can't deny that. I'm with you on that side of things. But you also need to give a man credit when credit's due. And the fact was that he decided to change tactics when we had injuries, and it led to us playing this way that we was playing early in the season.
Based on what?
Based on injuries. He was forced into playing that way. Because
why do we lose 22 games? If that's such a good hot take from you at the moment, saying that he's changed it, right? Why did he not change it? Why did he not change it in the Premier League games? Because all I was hearing from Tottenham fans, like Ange fans, yeah, right, were saying we always lose by one goal. We always lose by one goal. So by the way, if we were defensively sound, pragmatic, we will not lose by one goal. We will not be lose 22 games.
But the problem is, when he made the switch, right after he made the switch, which started in Europe, the Premier League games was a second string team, so the quality of the player was dropping. So, for instance, Archie Gray was coming in, and Archie Gray wasn't playing at the level where Bentancur was, for instance, or there was other people. So Romero and Van der Ven, they weren't playing, so the level of the centre backs were dropping. So therefore, as a team, the quality was getting worse. I think he should have made the changes earlier, 100%.
I don't agree with that. I hate this narrative about the whole thing about Romero and Van der Ven. I'm sorry. I've done this narrative about, we didn't have Van der Ven and Romero. I'm sorry. Davis and Dragoson were our best defenders this season. I'm sorry. I'm not hearing this, because this is the narrative I get all the time. I'm not hearing this. I am not hearing this about injuries. And the midfield have been goddamn useless. Because Ange played ball with these players. He played Basuma wrong. He played Bentancur wrong. He played Sarr wrong, and that's why we're wide open. He played inverted fullbacks. That's why we're wide open, right?
Oh no,
when we play defensively, when we play pragmatically, we're awful in attack.
But so, we're gonna go on to that. But do you not think, and I know that some of these players are obviously what Ange has brought in, but do you not think we have been awful in attack? But don't you think that that's a lot to do with the actual quality we had in attack, specifically when Maddison, Kulu and Bergba were missing? I know you're a big fan of Bergba, but there's that smile. But don't you think that was part of it?
Well, listen, the whole thing, Maddison gets lots of criticism. Got a lot of criticism. I have my issues with Kulusevski, right? And he ruined him this season. Completely ruined him, Ange, because he played him too much, right? Bergval, he was good. And
you started there. You best start when Torfin's around and I'm around. How about that? I saw you start right there.
I love George because he says silly things, and this is why I can feed off it. You know what I mean? That's what I love about it. You know what I mean? You know,
you nearly flip flopped because you told me Bergval was average. Now he's good.
No, I didn't. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't go over the top about players. You know what I mean? That's not what I do.
One of our early interactions this season was when you went over the top about the likes of Bergval and Archie Gray. You said they're not good enough. Bergval and Archie Gray are not good enough. Remember on the terrace? Remember when we had that back and forth? I remember that very early in the season.
Oh yeah, because I wasn't, because I'm sorry, but what was the ITK saying? We don't need any midfielders because we've got Archie Gray and Bergval. They look really good in training.
No,
that was what they said, and I said it on my channel. By the way, he said it, and I said, "What?"
And now the season's on.
What are you talking about?
Bergval? Player of the season.
Oh, yeah, because we are so crap in midfield. Crap. That's why. I don't know where we're going with this. This is what we do at Tottenham fans. I love this.
We're European champions.
Jules, I didn't really have that much energy. You gave me so much energy now. Honestly, bloody hell.
By the way, sorry, just to revert back, I'm not having anybody say to me that the United performance was not a winning performance, by the way, right? Because
did I say that though?
If that was box office, now Emmanuel is speaking, right? If that was Simeone with Atletico Madrid in that final, every man and his dog would be saying, "Oh my God, what a performance! What a defensive masterclass from these lot!" Blah blah blah. Shut shop. Because it's Spurs and they've won it. all of a sudden, oh, United were the better team, and if United had scored, if United had done this, well, if my dog had 2 legs and 2 arms, then it would be a human. It's not happening, right? And then everyone trying to diminish this cup. I'm not hearing it. I've watched Poch go out in the Europa League to Ghent, home and away, right? I've watched Mourinho lose to a team that had their manager in jail. I've watched Conte lose to Sheffield United B team whilst they were in the championship and not be able to come out of the group in the Conference League. I'm not having anybody say to me, oh, this was an easy win. Like these days, I'm hearing people say, oh, we didn't meet anyone. If we had met Galatasaray, it would have been a different conversation. Well, guess what? AZ Alkmaar won on aggregate, right? Bodo Glimt, that everybody's trying to disrespect, and everyone was afraid, not me, but everyone was afraid before we went and played them away from home. They got rid of Lazio. So I'm not having it. This was, you can only beat who's in front of you. That's what we've done. If you want to complain about the league position, cool, I'm all for it. But there's no way you can diminish the fact that we've won it fair and square. We've beaten teams that are going to be in the Champions League, by the way, next season. So, just get on with it. Get over it.
Manny.
We won it.
Can I just respond to that absolute waffle I just heard, by the way? Firstly, you said that I was diminishing the cup. I said I gave him credit, so I don't know where you're going with that one.
I said people. People.
And then the second thing as well, by the way, beating Alkmaar. Well, yeah, okay, we should be beating them. Beating Frankfurt, some people said that we should be beating them, by the way. We did well, but again, that wasn't Ange. Beating Bodo Glimt, we should be beating Bodo Glimt, which I said already when we were in the predictions on Irish Hotspur, by the way. And I said we're going to beat Man United, and we've just done it. Let's be honest here, right? Yeah, we did what we needed to do in the final. I've said, I'll take that all day long because that's what you do in the final. You get through the final, you get through it, you get over the line. That's what he did. Cool, but it don't mean, right, that he should stay in his job. Right? Yes, he gets the credit. He gets the credit all day long. Yes, he should get the credit, but he needs to win it anyway because he was a favourite as well. Yeah, right. But let's be honest here. He struggled in certain games like Galatasaray, right? Rangers.
We had a very
Roma.
Archie Gray at left back. We had a very bad team against Galatasaray.
Whose choice was that? Whose choice was that? That was Ange's choice.
It's not about defending Ange. I'm not defending Ange, but we just need to have context for some of these
losses. Guys.
Yeah. So
and the Galatasaray game, we lost 3-2 with a B team. If we versed them with our best,
we had a red card, by the way.
And we had 10 men. Like, let's have it. Like, what are we doing?
Because he did take
exactly
that game
what Destiny's
seriously.
saying. Exactly what Destiny's saying. I do find it funny when you look at the teams that we've been knocked out of under previous managers. We don't always get knocked out by your Liverpools, your Cities, your Arsenals. We get beat by, I think Conte got beat by Middlesbrough and Sheffield United. So we're not getting knocked out. So when we say about we should be beating them teams, we should always be beating teams. But it's the fact that we don't do it. Now this manager's done it, and I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, that you're giving him flowers, but not everyone is. But what I do find funny is that I've backed Ange, very similar to Manny. I've backed Ange since just after when Jordan flip-flopped. I backed Ange since December. And I said... I'm
still hurt by that, by the way. I've been watching George for a long time, right? And I was
let's be honest,
George,
I'm not having this.
And then I joined the stream one day, and I heard George say, and I was like, what is going on here?
Now, do you know what it is though? This is the thing with that. I stood on what I said for a long time. I said when we got out the cups, I can't back the manager, and for me, I wanted him sacked. Well, like in my heart, like looking back now, especially in hindsight, I wanted him sacked after we lost to Everton and Leicester. To me, that was done. Like a manager should be done for those. Those were two teams in a relegation zone. Those are two teams that could barely score a goal. Didn't have a win. I think Leicester didn't get a win all season after us. I think they might have won one or two games after us. They lost every other game. Everton, yeah, they picked up form, but still, we literally we let them score 3 goals against us in the first half with 3 at the back. Like, what is going on? At that point, I was like, this manager doesn't know what he's doing. And even till now, look, I agree with box office, innit? I generally do agree with the overall thought about Ange, but I just think some of the intricacies of what actually happened, you don't like to apply the right context. So the overall story sounds nice because it is 22 losses and he has had a bad season. You are right. And overall, you are right. But there is a lot of context you can add to some of the individual games, and you've got to also give him credit where credit's due for certain things, isn't it? Like we've said,
you can split it straight down the middle in terms of, if you look at everything positive, you can say that this is the, like, I'm not saying this is the case, but you can, if you look at everything positive, you can say it's the most successful years in 40 years that we've had. If you look at down the negative, you could say we've never had a season like this. It's literally the worst in our history. But one you can look at and say we should have been relegated. Then you look at another one, you say, but we're European champions. It's so split.
I've got to be honest. I don't like this whole thing about like saying, well, Poch didn't do it, Mourinho didn't do it. I'm more saying about Poch because I think Poch, for me, he built that team, right? Ange was given that team, right? He was given that team, right?
He made the something decision. Like 16 of the 25-man squad are all his players. I keep being told by Ange Outers that it's all his squad and that he's the one that's basically built it, and that's why we're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the problem I have with it, right? 16, and the thing is though, the thing that I like about Manny, right? He forgets what he says because he says stupid things. Like what he says about, he kept on talking about, oh, he ain't got Harry Kane. Harry Kane's the argument now. Harry Kane, you remember Harry Kane? Then he said, "Oh, they're talking about Harry Kane." No, don't do this, Manny. Don't do this, Manny. Don't do this, Manny. Don't do this, Manny. You're going to deflect now, aren't you? Because you know you said to Harry Kane, you did say about Harry Kane. You said, "Oh, we don't have Harry Kane." Yes, you did. You did.
Yeah, I did. But that's because the fan base is it's forgetting where we were when Ange came in. Like we've had
did Brentford lose Ivan Toney? Did Brentford lose Ivan Toney? Did Brentford lose
It's a lower quality, isn't it? It's a lower quality.
No, we're not doing this.
He's easier to replace.
Team.
Yeah, we're not doing this. They lost Ivan Toney and they scored a lot. He scored a lot of goals for Brentford.
Ivan Toney has never won the Golden Boot like 10 times in a row.
Also, we're doing this now about the Golden Boot now.
No, let's be serious. Ivan Toney has never scored 20 plus goals for 10 consecutive seasons. Ivan Toney has never won both the Golden Boot and the top assister, whatever boot it is, ever in his life. Like what Harry Kane was for us is not what Ivan Toney is for Brentford. Let's be serious here. Let's be serious.
So what about Bournemouth then? When they had Solanke and he scored all those goals, what happened there then?
Solanke scored 19 goals in the Premier League once in his career.
Okay, yeah, cool. But so they were able to. They lost him to us, right? And they were able to replace him and sort him out.
A lot of that's recruitment, and our recruitment's been poor.
Wait. What were you trying to say with that box office?
No, what I'm saying is that people make the argument, right? He's done well. Portugal didn't have Harry Kane, right? And this is what Manny's argument is most of the time, right? And I say, well, no, sorry, right? We never had Harry Kane. Harry Kane was always out the door. He said he was out the door, right? But other teams seem to be able to manage and replace their players when they lose their players.
We have managed because if you know what, but again, even with that, if you look actually the goal scoring for majority of the season, we was in the top 3 or top 4 goal scorers in the Premier League. I reckon in the last 3 or 4 weeks when we started to play our bad team, we probably trailed off and probably finished 5th or 6th. But I know for the majority of the season, we were one of the leading goal scorers in the league. So even without Harry Kane, we've managed to score goals. The problem this season hasn't necessarily, although it has been in front of goal, the way we play doesn't necessarily create for Solanke. So when you said there, Solanke scored 90 goals a season, why hasn't he scored this season? You can easily watch the way that we play, and the football's actually set up for the wingers to get most of the goals. And that's why you've seen Brennan Johnson get 16 goals, because the amount of creation we have from the left-hand side and the ball coming across the box, it always falls into that like right half space area. So it's not set up for Solanke to score 18 to 19 goals.
That goes to my point. But that comes to my point. Sorry, but I'll stop in a minute. But it comes to my point, Jules. Yeah, people are saying that Harry Kane, we're missing Harry Kane. This is the argument I get. So when I hear what you're just saying now, it just goes to my point, right? That it isn't about goal scoring as well. Yes, we were really bad towards the end of the season, but it was our defence because the way that he was playing, our tactics. You know what I mean? But the problem is with Ange Postecoglou, and this is why I don't think he's got a clue. When we were defensive, we were bad in attack, but when we're gun ho, we're bad in defence. So there's no balance whatsoever. That's the problem at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And this is where I don't understand for Tottenham fans. I had one take today saying, I just need to see a third season to see if he's a fraud. Sorry to say that. I shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? Because that's not a legal word. But you get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? You've had 2 seasons already. So how can you not make a decision on him already?
Because
you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, but if you would have, we lost Kane in the summer, and if you'd have asked anyone at the start of that season what's going to happen, I know there's got to be context here, but if I would have said to you, you're going to make Champions League, you're going to make fifth, you're going to get 5th place in the first season, and you'll win the Europa League in the second season, every single Spurs fan would have gone, absolutely, that's never happening without Kane. We're not going to recruit well. We're not going to recruit right. We're not going to replace him. We're not going to. And that's what he's done. I know he's finished 17th. I know this context and everything else. And I'm just going back to Hotspur Hoods, what he's saying. And again, this is labelled at him quite a lot. What I've got up on the screen, I don't know if you can see it. And I keep saying this, and no one's ever got an answer. No one ever says anything about it. This is Chelsea's run in 2019 when they played Arsenal. In the group stage, they had Poke, they had Vidi, they had Beatty Borislav, right? After that, they then played Malmo, Dynamo Kiev, Slavia Prague, and then Eintracht Frankfurt in the semis. No one's ever told me that their run was poor. No one's ever told me that they didn't beat anyone decent. All they've told me is that they were European champions. So because we're living in this moment right now, and it's a thing to lynch him with, it's we should have beat them, we should have beat them, we should have beat them. In 2 years' time, no one's going to say that. They're going to say they beat United, and that's all that's going to be cared about.
I've also heard a stat that only 7 Champions League teams that have dropped down have ever won the Europa League. So I mean, it's not something that happens all the time. So you beat who's,
and it's funny, the teams you're probably mentioning is like Sevilla, who won it like fucking 3 times in a row. He went up
exactly. And by the way, just to clarify, you know, I understand. I do 100% understand people. You know, I've never been dismissive of what people say when they say, you know, a league season with 22 defeats is not acceptable. I never, you know, I never back them off, because I do understand people when they say that. When I bring up Harry Kane, it's not to say, oh, look, we shouldn't have survived with Harry Kane. I'm just trying to put context on the 2 seasons that we've had. We've had 1 season where we've lost the player that normally gets a lot of our managers in the past out of a jam, right? I do remember so many games in the Conte season whereby we will play absolutely poorly, and then Harry Kane will just create some magic with Son and then gets us out of a jam. We lost him a day before the start of the season. Whether they knew that he was going or not, you know, that's not my point. He then managed to lose that much of an influence in the dressing room, turn it around and finish 5th. You can argue that obviously we at the latter side of the season, we ended up finishing poorly, yes, but we ended up finishing 5th, 2 points off 4th. And bearing in mind that was in the same season where we were cheering, well, a lot of us were cheering on City to win against us so that Arsenal would not win the league, right? The second season, and again, I do know that people disagree with me, we lost the first 5 games out of the 5 games out of the first 12 games. But if you look at the underlying metrics that we had, we were not that poor, right? We had some poor games like Ipswich and like Palace, but we were not as poor as our results were showing. Then the injuries kicked in, and we had a plethora of injuries, bearing in mind. People would argue that our backup players are not good enough. That's an age-old Tottenham thing. That's not an Ange thing. And then by the time we got to January, I know George said that, you know, he changed his mind once we played Everton and Leicester, and I do agree with him in regards to the way we showed up. But another thing that we need to put in consideration is had a manager that was begging for signings. We had so many injuries. He was practically every press conference. He was like, please get me some signings. And we ended up signing players at the very end of that January. So yes, we ended up losing the number of games, and attribute certain things to him because he was very egotistical to think, you know what, he wouldn't change his tactics. But he then won something that, again, no one has ever been able to win. So I'm not saying that makes him a good manager. What I'm saying is that should at least allow him or afford him some time to try and change it, if he can. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I think you was very right, Manny. And to be honest, I can actually see both sides. I think if we get rid of Ange, if Ange goes, I'm not completely against it. And if we decide to do that, I'm absolutely content with it. I think he can walk away. I think sometimes towards the end of the season, he kind of looked like he didn't really want to be there, perfectly honest. But if we go in and we get a top level manager, we're in the Champions League now, and we go, right, we're going to go and sign him, and we get in a top manager, and he goes, I'm absolutely fine. But for me, as we said before I come on there, I just can't believe the names that are being linked. In the top 6 managers at the moment, the 6th favourite, I think, is Michael Carrick, who's just been sacked by Middlesbrough. And that, for me, is the reason why I'll be so hesitant by getting rid of him. It's not because he's the best manager in the world. It's not because he should stay. It's mainly because the option that's coming in, I'm not set on. I like Frank, and I think Frank's a really good manager. But I don't understand why Spurs should be the club that takes the chance. He's never managed in Europe, ever. And then people will say, well, nor is Ange. But Ange is the manager right now. I didn't want Ange when he was here, and I wouldn't have wanted Frank when Ange first came in. Right now, we need a manager that's proven, that's at least played European football, and he's never had that. I don't see how anyone can say Frank comes in and he does really well in the Champions League. I don't see it. No one can say that.
Do you know what the thing is? Yeah, I'm with you because I mean I've come out and said in it, like, I think Frank's very underwhelming. I do think that when you actually look at them coach by coach, the evidence is there to show that Frank is a better coach than Ange. Now, he may not have higher achievements. But I think when you look at in the Premier League, you can only take the sample size we've seen 2 years from Ange. I think it's 3 seasons or 4 seasons from Frank. He's lost his best players, still managed to coach. So, and when I mean coach, the likes of Mbeumo and Wissa have been there for the majority of the time, but have just improved and improved and improved. And he's brought the best out of them. He's managed to use multiple systems in a 3-4-3, a 4-3-3, 3-5-2. He's used that Brentford team in a few different ways. So I can respect what he's done, but for me, I agree with you. He's not overachieved with that Brentford team. It's not like he done what Pochettino done with Southampton at that time, finishing 8th, pretty much beating up all the big boys when we brought him in. Like, it was like Pochettino was ready for that big move. Frank, I don't look at him and say, yeah, he's ready for a big move at a club like Tottenham. I reckon he'd be ready for a move at a mid-level club, maybe West Ham or something like that, to see how he does at that level with a team that has a bigger budget than the likes of Brentford, but also still a bit limited, but still push on to Europe if you're good enough. I think that's the type of team he needs to be at, not a team that's ready or has the standards of competing to be in the Champions League every year. I don't know if he's ready for that. Now, he's had the plaudits from the likes of Pep Guardiola and so on, who he's got a lot of respect from. So clearly, in the football world, I think he has got a lot more respect. People probably rate Frank very highly, but at the same time, I think we need someone who's proven, innit? I think we need someone who's done it at the top level, played Champions League, played Europe more importantly, and they know what it takes to win.
Chris, I know you was Ange. What are your feelings right now with the whole Frank situation? And welcome.
Cheers. I never wanted Ange when he first got appointed. For me, it was always they floated Nagelsmann was always the man that we was going to get. There was talks ongoing, and then we get Ange Postecoglou. And I live in Scotland, so my missus and all her family are all diehard Celtic fans. And all the people around me were saying, what a manager you're getting. And I said, it's not the same playing in the Premier League is not the same as the Scottish League, and everyone agreed with that. Now, with the way that the league's gone, obviously it's not good. I stand by the fact that, and I think everyone agrees that he's definitely changed tactics. And I know there's been talk about whether it was the players that have forced him to change it or not. But he's had to, for me at least, die on his sword and say, I've got to change this because it's not working. Whether we just got found out for the tactics or whether it just wasn't working. I personally don't think you can play the way he wanted to play every single game. You just can't do it. And I think it proves by just the amount of injuries that we've got. I've heard that in training it's very demanding, playing 2 games a week. You just cannot do that to the players. So for me, he's won us a trophy. I think, as you said, Luke, a bit earlier on, he looked like he was mentally drained. I think he stood there in all the press conferences and he took all the questions, all the bad questions, ones that you could see he was getting a bit frustrated with, and he was giving some stupid answers back. But for me personally, I think if he stays and we give him a transfer window, and if Levy actually gives him a budget and says, right, go and buy who you need, he goes and buys. If he spends 150 million or whatever, and he sells some players, he brings in the players that he wants. If after 2 months it's not going well and they say, right, look, we've given you the chance, unfortunately it's not working, we see you later, you're now bringing in a manager who in January might turn around and say, well, I need to get rid of all the players that he's bought because they don't fit my system. Everything changes then. And then you've got to go through a total rebuild halfway through a season. It only probably would be able to get better because most of the time it will. But from what I'm hearing on social media, a lot of the players in the dressing room actually want Ange to stay. So it's a big opportunity for, not an opportunity, it's a big thingy. For me, I think, I'm surprised it's not been done. I thought it would have been gone. And I said, I said it before in all Luke's, or on this podcast many a times, I think he should be gone regardless. It's proved that it's not working. The only thing that might save his job is if he turns around and says, the tactics are going to change. I'm not playing that way. I'm going to adapt and change my philosophy, which I can't see because I think he's just too stubborn to do.
I think the answer's already there, to be honest with you, because like I said, we had a long break and then we had the Man United game in the Premier League and we went back to Ange, and that everything that happened before, he still did the same thing. Man City, when we won 4-0, went back to Ange straight away. I think we drew the next game. I think it was.
But he can't go back now, can he? Surely.
No,
listen, I think it's quite. I think everyone knows the answer. I think everybody knows the answer by now. You know what I mean? I just think it's now getting silly now if you don't know the answer. For me, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, of course.
Because
you also talk about the youngsters.
I don't think anyone's wrong here. This is the thing, and I actually said this in December when I had a feeling that if we replaced him, that there's no one we could have brought in that would have given us a better chance in the cup. That's all I said. I didn't say Andrew was the best manager, and I agree with what Jordan said earlier. I think if you were starting a brand new club and you had Ange or Frank, then a lot of people would pick Frank, and I'm quite happy for that to be the case. But what we're currently saying is that after him winning a trophy, Ange is currently your manager. It's like what we talk about all the time. Why do we go and sign players that are just as good as the players we've already got? There's no point having a manager and going to get a manager that's ever so slightly better. What's the point in that? You want to go and get a manager that's far better. And just going to Ben's point, big shout out to Ben. The net spend at Brentford is only 10 million. But everybody keeps saying this, and again, I completely understand it, but does everybody think that if Frank comes in, our whole transfer policy changes? That's a recruitment team. That's a recruitment team. So if you're telling me that you think that all of that is down to Frank, that's not the case. This is a recruitment team that's put together that is well placed at replacing players. He's coming to Spurs, so he's going to get dud signings. He's going to spend £25 million on 16-year-olds that are never going to play.
The reason they're looking at him is because Tottenham have only just picked up the recruitment style of Brentford over the last 2 years. That was the point of bringing in Johan Lang. So we go to the data-led model like Brentford because we want to make signings like Brentford and Brighton. So that's probably why they've looked at a manager like Frank, because they know that he would accept that model of signings. He's not going to push back. He's not going to say, no, I want the big player. He's going to work with what he's got. So it's like that what you say there. It's very Spursy going for this type of manager, and that's what annoys me. I missed when we brought in Jose Mourinho. Like that feeling was just like, yo, we're moving serious. Like we actually want to do something with this club, and that's what I would feel like if we went and got a Xavi or went and got a big manager like that. But now Frank is just.
I think Frank should have been the favourite if we lost the Europa League. If we lost the Europa League, where he becomes a bit more of a project, you kind of build something. But it's exactly like what we say about the players, and everybody said it. I don't think anybody will disagree with this. Right now, we need players to come in and do the business now. Don't sign me a 19-year-old that's an 18-year-old that's going to do it in 2, 3, 4 years. Tell me someone that's going to do it right now. And there is absolutely no proof, despite the fact how good of a coach he is. There's absolutely no proof that Frank is going to come in and do anything right now in the Champions League.
Yeah, but I think the problem is
he's never managed both the Champions League or any form of Euro in tandem with the league, with managing within the league as well. I think that's my biggest issue, because a lot of people have been saying Ange can't manage 2 games a week. Well, Frank has never managed 2 games a week. We don't know how he's going to be. We don't know how he's going to be in a dressing room. That if we're going by what the press is saying, a dressing room that absolutely loves a manager who's just won them a trophy, right? And I fully agree with George in the sense of if we were going for a bigger name with bigger pedigree in the game, I would have said, okay, you know what, I fully understand it. But even with that, does anyone here even believe that our board is going to back whoever it is that comes in with that bigger pedigree with the players that they need? We've had Mourinho, we've had Conte. Have we ever backed them properly? I don't.
The problem is at the moment, I think people are thinking about the manager as the ultimate. And what I mean by the ultimate is that he's the man that's making all the decisions. He's doing this, he's doing that. He's influencing the backroom staff about who they're buying and everything else. The main thing is at the moment, and until we know what's going on with Daniel Levy, which I can't believe we're saying this at the moment because there's lots of speculation in him at the moment. I don't even want to mention his name because I think that's, let's get back to the point anyway. But the thing is, though, the main issue at the moment is the director of football, right?
Yeah,
the director of football is the main man because what we are trying to do as a club, and we've been trying to do the last how many years. The only thing is that we've had Harry Redknapp, Martin Jol, and Pochettino have been like the anomaly, right? Is that we were trying to do a coach sort of base, head coach, and then the director of football, who's the main guy that is the consistent guy, right? So I think what people are thinking at the moment, because Ange is like a manager sort of guy, right? We're thinking, if we get Frank in, he's got to stay another few years. And it's like, no, not really, no. The main thing is the director of football should be the most ultimate and important person. And then the coaches, they can come and go whenever they please. Yes, we don't want to do a Watford. No, that's definitely not the way to do it. But for me at the moment, Frank should be just the coach. Coaching the players. That's what Ange should have been, the coach. But Ange is not that coach. He ain't that coach that's going to be doing that. So for me,
on the point,
let
Alex,
it go of him.
That's spot on, though.
That's why we should. This is why we should be afraid of letting go. But the problem is with Tottenham, and this is why I'm very disappointed here. There are so many coaches out there that I named. The former Ajax coach, De Zerbi. Right? Yeah, people might not like him. There's people in Spain, people in Holland. You know what I mean? Will Still, that's gone to Southampton. There are so many coaches out there that are well reduced to our club. And another thing I need to speak about as well.
This is what I was saying, Alex. Look at. Just sorry, 1 sec. These are the favourites on Odds Checker. You got Frank and Ange, Marco Silva, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure he was the one that was at Sheffield Wednesday, I believe. Glasner Xavi, Michael Carrick, Iriola De Zerbi. Like, these are not stars. This isn't a names where you go, well, just go and get him. Like we've mentioned it earlier. It might be a little bit unrealistic, but your Nagelsmann, your Contes, your Mourinho's, your Poches, if they was all on there, then yeah, I completely get it. But we're talking about the 7th best manager that should be coming to our club currently by a betting company is Michael Carrick.
No, I can't lie. You are teaching Michael Carrick. I don't think he should be up for our job, but he's definitely primed for a Premier League job. Like, he's a very good manager. I can't even lie.
I agree, but again, we're not. We're talking about right now. We're in the Champions League now.
But the problem is we got Champions League now. Everyone's expectations are looking up there and saying, "Oh, we need to push up here," and I'm like, not being funny, right? We've only just won Europa League. Yeah, it's a great competition, all that. Second best competition. I'm not dismissing it, but we're nowhere near that level. Right at the moment, we need to maneuver. Yeah. At the moment, the fact that we were 17th, right? And we need to coach and make our players better at the moment. That's the main thing we need to focus on at the moment, and trying to manage a team that can do 2 games a week, right? So that's where the expectation is at the moment. Yes, we can try and get some older players because they need some older players to help some of the younger ones. Yes. But I think Tottenham fans have got their imagination just gone wild because we won a trophy. I mean, people now saying, we need to win another trophy next season. We need to win another trophy next season. I'm like, cool, but not every time you're going to be lucky to get a trophy every single season. You know what I mean?
No, the league form.
And the thing is, though, someone made a really good point. It's my boy Kuva. Big up to him. I hope he's doing well. Right? He said, well, this trophy saved our season. And it was only saved our season because it was such a bad season. Right? So it's not a great season, no. It only saved it because there's Champions League on it. So I think this is the reality people need to start to wake themselves up at the moment. You know what I mean? This is why we're not signing any players, because players want to know what's going on with the club. Yeah, there's still uncertainty, yes, but we are not consistent as a club. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why Arsenal are getting their business done. That's why Manchester United, because by name, for football heritage, they're still getting their business done. You know what I mean? That's why other teams are getting their business done. You get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So
we're not getting business done though because we haven't.
Should not be. This is the last thing, and I'll let Jules have his 5 minutes of fame. Joking, Jules, but you know what I mean. I'm only joking, Jules. You know I love you, mate. Even though you talk waffle. But the point is, though, yeah, right? Yeah, it's just that this is why this is happening at the moment. It's just funny seeing some of the people getting really upset on YouTube. It's so funny. You know what I mean? Because you know how I've been feeling the whole year. You know what I mean? Back to you, Luke. I'm done.
Now, all I was going to say is, obviously, with the transfers, it's obviously very clear why we've not made any moves in the transfer window. And let's be honest, when do Spurs ever make moves this early? I think we had 1 year where we started to make moves early, and the transfers we were signing wasn't that good. It was the likes of like Fraser Forster and some of these other rubbish players. Like I didn't really expect Spurs to make moves in these first 10 days, and I'd probably expect Spurs to start making moves in the transfer window in late July. That's when you'll start to see Spurs, we've confirmed the player, which is disappointing, but maybe it may be quicker with Paratici coming into his role at the 1st of July. But until then, let's be honest, man, we're just going to be interested. We're going to be inquiring. We're going to be investigating, all of these players. That's what's going to happen. But that is Spurs. That is literally Spurs, man.
Well, this is what we was going to be discussing today. So basically, what I've done is I've gone on to FootMob and basically put in pretty much the starting 11s that the top 5 teams had. So we've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, and then I put Spurs in as well, right? Because again, all over social media, you see people go from either we sign a Bergba and people are saying he's going to be one of the best midfielders in the world, or you get people like Alex who say he's not very good. There's that big divide between the two. I'm going to keep throwing that, Alex, between the two. So what I wanted to do is put together. So what I've done is I put together a little tier list here. So starting at this one, it's basically looking at each player in each position from the top 5 teams, because I believe that's where everybody wants to get. We want to be challenging for that top 6 at least. So this is basically the top 6, if you like, if we're the 6th team, and how good is our team against them. Because again, I've seen some people say, yeah, this team should be challenging for the top 6, but actually if we haven't got a player that gets in any of the top 6, or we've got 1 or 2 players that do, then how does that a realistic target? So what I wanted to do is just start off with in goal, right? We've obviously got Alisson, Ederson, Pope, Robert Sanchez, Raya, who is obviously linked to, and then Vicario. So in your eyes, I think this is quite an easy kind of pick. But starting with you, Manny, who do you think? What would your order be here from the top 6 goalkeepers? So you've got Alisson, Ederson, Raya, I would guess are the top 3. Personally, I don't know. Then Sanchez, Pope, and Vicario.
100%. Alisson will be at the very top. I'm a bit iffy about what's his name, Ederson, because he's very good with his feet. But if you really, really look at his in-game shot stopping, and I don't think he's as good as people say he is. I actually would have Raya ahead of him, to be completely honest. So I would have Raya at the top, but I would have Ederson just beneath them. Yeah. Who else is in there other than Vicario?
So you've got Sanchez, Vicario, Pope.
Sanchez, right? So
Robert Sanchez, the Chelsea one.
Keep him last. I would have Vicario, I would have Pope, and then I'll have Sanchez. I mean, Pope and Vicario, I suppose I'll let the guys debate, but that's where I'll start.
Yeah. So that's where I was going to go. So Alex, what are your thoughts on them 6? Do you agree with them? Would you want to move anyone round?
Who's that in the middle there? Is that?
So you got Alisson, Raya, Ederson, Vicario, Pope, and then Robert Sanchez.
I probably would put Pope ahead of Vicario at the moment, because I think he's short. I do think he's a bit shaky. He's been shaky this season. Has to be.
I think are they almost like that? They're almost like level.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of just going off that, I mean that's a pretty decent start. I mean when Robert Sanchez is going to line up,
I can't disagree with that.
I've got Big Vic above Pope in it. I think he's better all rounded than Pope, but Pope is a good shot stopper as well. I'll take nothing away from him.
But by the way, Master just, I don't know whether the guys agree, because in the few games I've watched at Kinski, right? If you could give Kinski's aerial ability, whereby he comes in and collects crosses, and give that to Vicario, he would be really improved. He's just, when the ball is in the air, he's got to collect it. I'm so uneasy all the time. Like I don't know whether you guys remember in the final with Manchester United. I'm thinking when Van de Ven clearly off the line, I'm like, bro, this is so unnecessary. It's not necessary. But yeah.
But don't you think, again, it comes down to sort of priorities? And actually, Danny in the chat has said this on numerous occasions. People have been saying that where do we need to improve? And Danny's always gone, and he always said recently that I'm not saying right now, but like next year or maybe the year after, we need a better goalkeeper than Vicario. Vicario's a sort of top 8, maybe top 6 goalkeeper, but actually, if you want to start challenging at the top, he's someone that needs to be upgraded. And that kind of fits in. Obviously, it's not every goalkeeper. What I'm trying to just use here is a barometer of how far this team is off or how close we are to the top 6. So we seem to be in agreement there. So in terms of the right backs, again, this is on the reason why I've put that. So Trent's in here. The reason why Trent's in is because I'm saying that on this season, there's no point trying to add in who we might sign, who we might not. But on this season, if we had a better right back than Trent, say, we would probably be standing a better chance than if we was higher up the league, that sort of stuff. So that's why it's got players that may or may not be leaving. But This one's quite a tough one. I think this is probably one of the hardest positions to kind of go into. Some of you might disagree, but we started with Manny, so we'll go with Alex this time. So we've got Porro, Livramento, Timber, Alexander-Arnold, Rico Lewis, and then Reece James. Obviously, Reece James is very, very injury prone, so you could take him out and bring in Gusto. But who do you think is the best right back in the league out of them 6, Alex? And I know, listen, again, this is all down to interpretation, because you might want a more solid right back. Therefore, you don't pick, say, an Alexander-Arnold. You might want to really, but it's just your personal opinion. Who would you like to have in that as your right back? You're on mute.
Alexander-Arnold first.
Yeah.
Probably. Is that Tim? Oh, my eyesight is terrible.
You've got Julian Timber. I can zoom in a bit more.
Yeah. Timber. Livramento, because he's had a good season. I'll put the Chelsea boy next as well. Then Porro, and then Rico Lewis, because he's been a bit shaky, but he's young, isn't he? So yeah.
I can't lie. Even though he didn't play majority of the season, Reece James needs to go above Timber. We're just being silly here. We know what level Reece James brings. He's a world-class right back. He's a world-class right back with or without injuries. I feel for me, I'll be honest, he's the best of all of these right backs. He's literally better than all of them. And we've even seen in the small appearances he did make, it's not like Reece James comes back and he's at a mid-level. He comes back and he's one of the best right backs in the league instantly. He was banging free kicks and scoring goals when he's coming back. Like, Reece James is doing stuff.
No, you're spot on his quality, but availability is your best ability. If I can't play you for literally 3/4 of the season, I'm not picking you up there.
No, but it wasn't who would be picking our team. It's who's the best.
I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this because I know
when it comes to one person.
It's gonna come. Look, you ruined it for me, man. You ruined it.
No, because we're not. That wasn't the argument. It's who's the best. It wasn't who's available for majority of the season. It was literally who's the best. So I'm not taking into consideration injuries. I'm taking into consideration how good this player is, and I'm not talking about just on their best. I'm talking about in general. Yeah.
This is your best.
Reece James has got to go above, man. He's got to go way up.
I would have maybe it was 3 years ago now, I'd have said, right, Reece James was the best right back in the world, personally, or going to get to that level. But the injuries.
No, that was me. Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, there isn't. Again, this isn't a right or wrong. It's just a gauge of, as I said, I see. You see so many people saying, "Oh, we should be challenging here," and I'm sure at the start of the season, or everyone that's got a YouTube channel will be sitting there saying, "Oh, look, where do we think we're going to finish?" Well, if all of our players are in the bottom of this list, then we can't sit there and say we should be finishing 5th, or so I'm being unrealistic, because so this is where I thought this would be something quite interesting to see, something a little bit different. So
no, I do agree, by the way. Like if you're purely talking about the quality of the player, 100%. Reece James goes forward. Reece James is very, very good defending as well. So that's not in question. I just think the guy cannot stay fit, and if I'm thinking this guy cannot stay fit, I just cannot physically. It's like me saying Balotelli is one of the world best attackers. Well, the guy barely plays, so if he barely plays, I can't for the life of me think he should be at the top, to be completely honest. But if we're going by quality of the player, 100%, Reece James is better than all of them on that list.
So, in terms of Jules, have you got anyone that you want to swap around here?
Just Reece James, man. Just Reece James.
You put him higher?
At least, if people don't want to have him first, he's got at least be behind Trent. Like, I get why Trent will be above, because Trent has been available all these years, not had injuries, so he can stay above minute. But Reece James got to be ahead of Timber. Livramento, for God's sake, was in the academy and got sold because he wasn't good enough to take over Reece James. There's no way he was saying he's better than him now. Like, what are we doing here?
I know Porro struggles defensively. I do feel like this is tough on Porro to be 5th, to be fair, but I can't.
Livramento was better. I can't lie. I was thinking that, but then I was gonna go. When I look at Livramento, he's actually good defensively, but going forward, he's cold. Like, he's just young. That's what it is. He has years to build. He'll be better than Porro going forward in the years to come, but he's cold, man.
It's a tough list. It's a tough list because obviously people point out to the fact that Porro has got since he came to the league his
GA
GA is only it's I think it's either above or just below Trent's.
I think
But
it's higher.
yeah, but you can't like watching when you watch Timber and you watch this is a good set.
Chris, you got any complaints?
I thought it was quite harsh on Porro, but I think attacking wing backs, he's really good, but defensively he really lacks. So I'd probably agree with it based on sort of the balance of the club and who you'd go and get.
Yeah. Right. So then moving on, it's the right centre back, and again, I'll try to keep it as right centre back as possible because obviously you've got players like Van Dijk, Gabriel, Van der Ven. They clearly play on that one side. Dan Burn will clearly play on one side. So in this one, you'll have. I've not actually moved them around properly here, but you've got Konate. Burn will go to the end. Romero. Diaz normally goes to that side. Shaw, Chalobah, and then Saliba. So there's your 6. So this time, Jules, it'll be you. So you've got Romero, Diaz, Konate, Shaw.
Go on, Jules.
Chalobah.
I'm not even gonna say what
I'll let you start with this one.
None of them are gonna shoot me down instantly, but I guess I'll go Saliba in it because like I said, Saliba is a top centre back in it, even though he's had a bit of a struggle season at times. Let's go with Saliba. Then I can't even lie. For me, Romero. I think he's not had the greatest of seasons. He hasn't, but when I talk about Romero and talk about at his best compared to all these other defenders, Romero is better player, better defender than them. After that, I'll do Diaz. He had a really good first year, and I was disappointed when we didn't sign Diaz, but he's been injured a lot like Romero, you could say. And when he's come back from injury, I feel like Diaz has looked very poor. Man City's defense has not been the same. So I'd go Diaz after him.
Maybe he's concentrating too much on Maya Gemma.
Probably. Do you know what? In fact, I'm being harsh. Konate is ahead of Diaz at the moment. Diaz would have been a few years ago, but Konate is ahead of him. Konate had a very, very strong season last year. Then after that, I guess you got
Chalobah and Shaw.
Chalobah. The other two defenders are a bit. I suppose it probably could have been Sven Botman. But he has been injured majority.
He's been injured, so that's why he's not in.
Again, he's really good. I reckon he'd be up there. It's a toss-up.
That's why I haven't included Rodri because he didn't play enough. As I say, this is like
same way, and like with Fafana and that. But that's what I mean. I think with the centre backs compared to probably the other, is very close. Like all the centre backs are of a very similar level. Like I think from Romero, Konate, Diaz, it's like minimal separating them. Probably Liverpool fans will tell you Konate is better than Romero. Man City fans will tell you Diaz is better than Romero.
I think Dan's correct here. Romero on his day is world class, but when he's not on his day, there's too much of a gap. So there you go. He's put up the lineup. It's probably been one of the most difficult ones so far. Is there any disagreements on that? I don't think it's far off. I think he's right. I think you got your Tottenham fans will probably say Romero, Liverpool probably say Konate, but is there any there that's creeping out? You have to say no, that needs to be moved.
I think Konate should have been in front of Romero because he's been consistent this season.
That's understandable. That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't. I think the level is very close. Like,
and he's been injured mostly this season as well.
Yeah, I'm not against that. I mean,
the season before you'd probably say it was Romero, but then this season, it's Konate. Like, it's fair.
Yeah. Right. So the next one, Chris, this one's down to you now. So we've got
this one's harder. I can't say to be honest.
This one is tough, very tough. You've got Van Dijk, Colwell, Gabriel, Van der Ven, Dan Burn, and then Akanji. This one is so tough. There's an argument for
two
of them that I'm like, meh. The rest are like I could.
I think Van Dijk, Van der Ven, and Gabriel. I think Gabriel's had a good season, although he's Arsenal. But I think Van der Ven as a defender he would go into every team. He's got the pace, he's got the height, he's got the strength. He can play with ball with his feet.
So you got them three.
Then Akanji, yeah. Although it's again, I think between Gabriel, Van der Ven, and Akanji, maybe between Gabriel and Van der Ven, there's a bit of a gap, but between them, the second, third, and fourth, there's not much.
Yeah.
And then Colwell and Dan Burn.
Anyone got any arguments for that?
No, I haven't got an argument. I'm sorry. I would put Dan Burn next to, or even in front of Van der Ven. I'm sorry.
No, you can't, man.
Injured too much. No, I'm sorry. Injured too much. Right.
A question I would propose then, if you're saying that, I would say if we sold Van der Ven this season, would you be happy if we bought Dan Burn in to replace him?
Yeah.
No.
Come on. You didn't even say with chest.
I feel like, do you know what? He's even smirking behind his hat.
He likes Ben Davies. He said Ben Davies is a top cornerback. I don't even know. I think the way Alex has been analysing defenders,
that was context. There was context to that, because the fact is, without his pace, Van der Ven is useless. Without his pace, he can't do anything. He's not good on the air as well. Right. So as a defender, he ain't that great. Let's be honest here, without his pace. Right. So for me, I would put Dan Burn actually next to Van der Ven for me.
I would.
And he won that trophy for Newcastle as well. He won that trophy for Newcastle as well. What? Akanji?
Dan Burn better than Akanji?
I don't think Akanji's had a good season this season.
He's not.
No, maybe not this year. They've had. So are we?
I'm not mad at that. I think Newcastle do have a good defense.
Yeah, Botman weren't included. Where's Dan? Sorry, the comment just come up. Botman didn't play very much, so that's the only reason he's not in it. This isn't like Newcastle's best team or anything like that. That's why, as you'll see in a minute, with Man City, Rodri's not in it because he just didn't play enough. Okay, that's. I wasn't expecting Dan Burn to be there, although Box Office is going to be clipped tomorrow with the headline "Burn is better than Van der Ven," and that's going to be all over YouTube anyway. And then next up, we'll go Box Office. It'll be you again now, mate. So left back. So we've got Udogie, Robertson, Lewis Hall, Cucurella, Skelly, and then Gvardiol.
This is very hard, to be honest, because I don't think most of them have been good this season. They've been
There's been a few good ones, man. We can't lie.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Robertson hasn't been his best this season. Let's be honest.
No.
Robertson.
I wasn't even thinking about Robertson.
I know he was thinking of, but we can't keep putting them near the top.
Guardiola, yeah, I'll put him. He's BI, but what is his name? The Chelsea boy.
Lewis Hall.
Cucurella.
Chelsea man, Cucurella.
Yeah. And then it's a toss up between. This is a hard one, to be honest with you. Someone else could have to answer this one for me.
Lewis Hall, man. It's got to be Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall for Newcastle has been probably.
Personally, I don't think Robertson's been very good.
I think he's been the worst. Robertson's been the worst one.
I think I agree with that one. To be honest,
Lewis Hall's been really.
I think Adoji's going to be fifth for me.
I can't lie. Yeah, if I'm going off this season, Adogie's been poor. Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
That's why that's the way I'll do it. Yeah.
And the only reason why Skelly's that low is just because
he's a better player than Skelly, but Skelly's been better than him this season.
Yeah. And the only reason Skelly's that low is just that Skelly's not played long enough. So you can't say you're the second best left back or third best left back, and you've only played what would it have been, a third of the season. So that's why
it's weird putting Robertson the last one, but the thing is, though, he hasn't been great. He's been making mistakes as well, to be honest with you. So
I think so.
I think our rank makes sense. And when you look at the graph or look at the way it's put, when you see Tottenham, it makes sense where our defense is. Like our fullbacks are two of the worst fullbacks in the league, technically, of the top 6. We got mid-level centre backs compared to the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, and then Man City. Obviously, they've been all over the place this season, so theirs is a lot lower.
I'll tell you what's scary though. For me personally, there's a lot more of an argument that our back 5 should be near the top compared to what our attacking will be. So we'll now move on to the midfield. And when you start looking at the options here, I don't think that we're going to be getting third places, and I think we're going to be down here personally. But we'll see. We'll see. So in terms of the back line, we've got the two centre backs are third best in the league in what we would say, and then as you said, the full backs they're a little bit off. But again, on their day, I mean, especially the right back, we're talking about 4 very good right backs there. To be fair, the left back was probably not so much, but the right backs, you're talking about 4 very good right backs, and Porro's in decent company there. I think the left back maybe not so much. Anyway, moving on then to the midfield. So what I tried to do is, obviously a lot of the teams, they kind of play either 4-3-3 or it's 4-2-3-1. So I've tried to group the players into the slightly more defensive and then the slightly more attacking. So in terms of the next midfield, we'll start with George. So in terms of the 6, we've got Bentancur, Kovacic, Gravenberch, Partey, Salcedo, Bruno Guimaraes.
I'm going to go SAB. I'll try to put them into any tiers I think they're good. I don't have to put them into S if I don't think they're S yet, right?
No. We're gonna do it the same thing. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all going to go in.
Oh,
S,
they're going to be in.
Rank.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is going to be, I suppose you got to go Gravenberch, man. Last season he was cold. He was cold last season. After that I'd go Bruno Guimaraes. And then I'd go Kais. Oh, yeah. I guess I'd go Caicedo. And then Partey. And then I don't think Kovacic had a good year, but I suppose Bentancur's not been good enough. I'll go Kovacic and then Bentancur. I have to be honest there. I'm a big Bentancur fan as well, but he's just been a bit up and down. Most of our players have been.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why. I think Arsenal fans would argue Partey should be higher, but I'm not so sure. I'm not against that. That list don't offend me. How about anyone else?
No, it doesn't. I agree with that one, to be honest.
Yeah. Cool. He's agreeing with you, George. You best take that. Yeah, clip that one as well.
No one comes to the rivals, man. That's what they told me. Is because when I do the unbiased, I know my stuff.
Bentancur was always going to be last for me because he's been. Yeah, I can't call him a Juventus reject, even though I'll just call him a Juventus reject still. He was trying to be. So yeah, I can't really call him that anymore. But yeah, he's
I think them 4 were clear for me.
Yeah, it's easy.
4 were clear.
Easy peasy.
So then the next one, this one will do Chris. So we've got, and to be fair, I initially put Basuma in, and then I've realised that box office was coming on, so I had to take Basuma out and put Bergba in, just to see if he's got any arguments with this one. So we've got Bergba, Gundogan, McAllister, Rice, Enzo Fernandez, and then Tonali. And if you want to start worst to best, then you can obviously do that as well, because sometimes it's easier.
I think it's tough because they've all got qualities, and they've all obviously. I mean, the only thing Bergval's not got over them is experience, I would say.
And also obviously
there is a player in there. You can see there's a player in there. I'm a fan of Declan Rice. When he went to Arsenal, it destroyed me because I liked the player that Declan Rice was. I also do like Tonali. So I probably start with them too. McAllister's again, he's a class player.
You got him in there?
Yeah, I don't think he's far behind. Probably Gundogan, Endo, and then Bergvall. Not because of I think there is a player there in Bergvall. I just don't think I don't think he's the full picture. I don't like that. That's a tough one. I don't like that
Go on.
60 player.
You change it then.
You got to put Gundogan last. You got to put Gundogan last.
Yeah, I
Gundogan's
agree
been
there.
terrible this season.
I think Chelsea.
Gundogan 2 years ago was probably one of the best of all of them.
I was literally just going to say the exact same thing.
Terrible. And I can't even lie, McAllister's definitely above Tonali and Rice. I think this season. McAllister's been
consistent. He's been consistent.
So good, man. Some of the goals. I know people talk about the Declan Rice free kicks and stuff. If you look at some of the goals McAllister's scored this season now, crackers. Like
that is definitely right. This is a good. That's a good. I think I agree with that order. Definitely.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think Bergvall's unfortunate. I think but he only had 4 good months. It was after Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this shows you what he needs to be. He's up against.
Yeah.
In terms of rivals, this is why I can't.
This is exactly why I've done this. Is to say like realistically, because I have seen people like I've been on shows and I've seen the chat and people are going to me. I said we need 3, 4, 5 players, and they go, "No, you don't. We don't need 3, 4, 5." And I'm like, "What? We're in love with our own players. Like, look at the other teams. Like, you look at that midfield now. You got." Either one of them, you know what I mean, Bentancur's last, and then you would take any of these. I mean, I keep looking at Newcastle's midfield and just like that's just unbelievable sort of thing. Right, moving on.
Don't know why Maddison's there though. Don't know why Maddison. I don't even need to choose. I just before you even started to start. You don't know why Maddison's in this graph. I don't know why
Maddison, Kulu. Either one of them.
Kulu's definitely better than Maddison. Don't know what we're doing here. We're doing mind games and doing silly things now and acting like Maddison was actually pulling us through games when Kulu was putting us on his back. It's crazy.
Well, we're gonna find out now because Manny's gonna select he's 6. So again, this is difficult because Newcastle's midfield is more hardworking. It's not really down to the creative side of things. So Joelinton we have
Madders. We have
Madders, Bernardo Silva. Again, City's midfield, it was hard to pick. So you got Maddison, Bernardo Silva, you got Szoboszlai, Odegaard, Cole Palmer, and Joelinton. And let me just tell you, Cole Palmer didn't score or assist for like 2.5 months. So before people in the chat start saying,
yeah, but the quality is there, isn't it? If I'm choosing my midfield, right, I would have Cole Palmer ahead at the top.
You've got Cole Palmer top, yep.
I would have Madders after. I would have.
You get your time, George. You get your time. One selects, then it goes up for debate.
Oh, wow. Put Odegaard third. Oh, actually, sorry. Are we going by this season's quality?
Yeah, this season.
Yeah. Okay.
Just on this season. So if we basically what it is the idea is almost like if we want to go and sign players, if all of our players are in the bottom here, then we know that we need to go and sign better players, sort of thing. So
okay,
so it's on this season.
So I would have Szoboszlai after Joelinton after that, and then Bernardo at the very bottom.
The regular order should be for box office to go next, but from George's reaction, I need.
No, I'll let box office go. I'll let box office. I think box office is a smart man, so I'm going to give him his chance before.
I don't understand the whole thing with Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai is actually played well. He's played well, hasn't he? Who's that Newcastle one?
It's Joelinton.
Joelinton.
Yeah, he played the most, and he plays a different formation, but one of them.
Joelinton needs to be up there. It needs to be higher for me. Sorry.
You can't say higher. You got to tell me where.
I think he needs to be ahead of Maddison because Maddison hasn't been consistent.
Manny's got Maddison second. I have a feeling that if he ain't last, he's going to be second last. By the way, everyone else is looking.
No.
at him.
I don't. I wouldn't put him second last because I don't think.
Who's ahead of Maddison?
Everyone's ahead of Maddison. What are we doing
based
here?
on
We're all
quality.
being silly. You know, based on this season and quality, Joelinton is, like you said, this season been way ahead. You've got to push Joelinton to second. You've got to push Szoboszlai above Odegaard.
Exactly. Yeah,
Odegaard's been terrible.
Definitely, he's been terrible.
No, push Maddison right to the back. Maddison needs to go to the back.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Come on,
and then wait, we're leaving it. That's the order I would say. That's 100%.
No, I don't agree with that.
That's hard.
I put.
Personally,
George, you're saying Odegaard has been inconsistent.
If we had Kulu in there, Kulu would be above Odegaard.
No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't.
No, he wouldn't. More consistent than Odegaard.
Kulu would be above Odegaard.
No, he wouldn't.
I'd debate that he'd probably be above Szoboszlai as well. Facts.
No.
Kulu would be the third best one.
No.
Kulu would be the third best one. But people are all being silly now, and they're all trying to tell me Maddison is good when Maddison is Mr. 33%. Maddison showed up for some games, but they're going to tell me his best game was against Man City. Who ran that 4-0 game? Who got man of the match? It was man like Kulusevski. What are we doing here? Kulusevski is our best number 10. He took Maddison's chain, but not only did he take Maddison's chain, so did Bergba too. Madison is a bench warmer, and he gets substituted every game for a reason.
Because he's not.
When we had our best team, he wasn't playing.
I understand where you're coming from, George, right? In terms of Kulu is not our best 10. Kulu is our best 8, right? When he was in the 8, he was running game. He's not a 10 at all, unfortunately. He's not a 10. Maddis, I can understand you. I can understand you when you say Maddis has been inconsistent, because I fully agree. My gripe with Maddis is that he never takes the game by the scruff of the neck. But Odegaard has been terrible this season. Nobody's gonna tell me that Odegaard is above Maddis this season. This season, no chance, 0 chance.
I think it's a difficult one because it's inconsistency because of the way he's playing as well, the way that Ange plays him, because he's played him. But when you actually play him right, you see how effective he is. And when he was injured, look how bad we were.
Odegaard's played 30 Premier League games and scored 3 goals.
Don't act like no. This is what we're doing. Madison's numbers this season looked good, but how many games did he get goals and assists in that he done absolutely nothing else? We're not gonna do that. His season looked good because of the numbers, but Maddison was absolutely terrible this season by his own standards.
Odegaard was terrible too.
But facts. I don't think Odegaard was good. I think the last 3 were all rubbish. I think Maddison, if we're comparing Maddison to what he was and what he was supposed to be, Maddison has been a shadow of himself. He's been an absolute shadow of himself.
Agreed. But the point, if you were to speak to a Liverpool fan, right, about Szoboszlai, they will tell you Szoboszlai was literally they've been cussing him out all season. So I think your top 2, bringing what's his name, Joelinton, based on his form this season. At the second, I can understand. Nobody's gonna tell me Cole Palmer should be anywhere but top. But the bottom 4, Maddis is definitely not last. That's for sure.
No, I don't think he's last either. I actually agree with Manny, and I don't really agree with Manny.
I get outvoted, innit? But
Chris, what are your thoughts? You chucking Maddison bottom?
I'm just trying to get all the stats up for all the players. So
I think Bernardo Silva's been pretty poor, to be honest. I think Bernardo Silva's bottom, and then I think with these 2,
if you go by stats, I think contributions in a game, Maddison's second. Yeah,
Maddison will be up there, but George has a point. He's very much been a bit of a Brennan Johnson in terms of he's got goals, assists, but he hasn't been. If you looked at the numbers, you'd think what a season. Then you watch him with your eyes and you go maybe not as good as you.
Yeah,
I'm not
how it is now,
or maybe that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Either way round, Maddison hasn't had a good enough season. He's turned up in some games, but for me, you need to be sort of consistent, and being injured most of the time doesn't. Again, it's if we could probably, it's if we signed an attacking midfielder, Maddison would probably need to fight for his place in the team. I don't think his place in that role is guaranteed. So yeah, I agree with that lineup how it is now.
Terry said he's criminally underrated, Jolin. So I don't think he is. We put him second. So
Yeah,
he might be, but not by us. Moving on to the right wing now.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Johnson, Ole. Obviously, there's been rumours about Madueke, and also I'm not going to entertain any Jacob Murphy hate. So we've got, who just picked that one? That was Manny, wasn't it? So this is back to box office. So we've got Jacob Murphy, Madueke,
Saka,
Bukayo Saka, Mo Salah. I've put Marmoush on the right, just because Doku's probably on the left of City, and then the goal scorer, the winner himself.
Okay, Salah first, easy. All right. Okay. The influence he's had second part of the season, Marmoush. Right.
Facts.
Then Saka.
Yeah.
Murphy has to get a mention. Then it's the toss-up between Madueke and
It's
Johnson.
the guy that's got more goals. Let's be real. Madueke scored. Let me tell you something. He's got about 7 Premier League goals, and 3 or 4 of them were in one game. So let's have it right. And that was about 7 months ago. So he scored about 4 goals in about 6 months. Madueke is rubbish.
Okay, fair enough, and we'll take that then. I can't really. Well, I'm not saying it's rubbish. I don't think that's rubbish, but yeah, you know, Johnson goals. We have to give him that one.
I'm not against it. I think Saka obviously hasn't played as much. Murphy as a shout to probably be there, but Saka he's good.
Saka.
Right. So we'll add another row, and then now moving on, George. So we've got Son, Doku, Diaz, Trossard. Actually, look, Trossard and Martinelli have very similar amount of minutes played, but Trossard had more goals, so that's why he's in. Pedro Neto, and then Anthony Gordon.
I think
again, sometimes it's easier to start at the bottom.
No, I think it's easy to go as well from the top this season, especially. But more important, I think Anthony Gordon's been the best of all of them. Anthony Gordon's been class. After him, I'd go Diaz. I do think Diaz is. See me, I like Diaz because I'm a what?
Sorry to cut you off. Who put Marmoush over Saka?
No, it was just for this season.
It's because Saka's Saka hasn't played as much as he. Oh, mind you, so is Marmoush. Marmoush only.
Marmoush was called his second half impact, isn't it? Like I agree.
And he played well for Frankfurt as well, so we have to give it that as well. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Okay. Sorry, Josh,
but yeah, no, I think I'd go Diaz. Diaz is a good. He underwhelms a lot in front of goal, but he's such a great player just to watch. I'm an eye merchant, so for me, Diaz is cold. Then I'd go. Oh, this is a toss-up now because I can't lie.
Do not put Son there.
No.
Do not put Son there.
Sorry, I'd love to have that one. Sonny's been poor this season, man. I'd probably go Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
Then Doku. Then Sonny. Then Trossard.
Yeah. Oh no! Whoa!
Trossard's been rubbish. Trossard's been rubbish this season, but Sonny just. Sonny, man. I
think you'll be surprised by Pedro Neto, to be honest with you. I read probably about 5 or 6 games to the end of the season. Pedro Neto has something like 15 goals in his whole Premier League career.
He's not a goal scorer. He's not.
Johnson has 11 this year. So I don't think Pedro Neto has been that good personally this year.
I think the last 4 have all been rubbish. I have to say all 4. Like the left wing, even because I was talking about team of the season the other day, and when we were talking about left wingers, we were like, "Yo, the left wing is so bad in the Premier League right now." Like Anthony Gordon, Diaz, good players. Pedro Neto, mid. Doku, mid. He's just a very good dribbler. About that, he's a mid player. Son is mid right now, and Trossard is mid as well. Like these 4 players are all at such a average level.
Trossard is more he's more efficient than the last
Yeah.
4 to
Well,
based on
Son's
obviously
been quite efficient, to be fair.
normally you would say that Sonny is more efficient than anyone on there, but he's had such a poor season. But Trossard himself coming on every single time he comes on, he actually
Only when he comes on though, Manny. That
Yeah,
Arsenal
yeah,
fans
true.
play that himself. Whenever he starts games, he's horrible. He doesn't offer nothing, and that's the problem, I suppose.
I actually think if Son wasn't Son, I think we would have put him higher. But because he's Son, we still just expect that bit more. Because if you look numbers wise, he's probably. It wouldn't surprise me if he's done both of these two. I think he's probably got more than Trossard as well. So I think it'd actually be higher. It's just that we know Son should be here. Like we knew Son when Son was 2-3 years ago, but he's no. That's what I'm saying. I think probably our expectation of Son is if he was at other teams would look at him and be like, oh, he's not as bad as the Spurs fans are getting onto him.
Agreed.
So, and then the last one up front. This is actually quite difficult. I think there's some really easy ones and then there's some hard ones. So, who's up next? I think it's you, George.
Yeah. No, I just went. It's Chris. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, Chris, sorry. Strikers.
Isaac top. I think he's had a great season.
Agreed that one.
Great striker.
You're not Haaland, no?
No, I don't think he's been as good. It'd probably be up there second or third.
What's your choice? You decide.
Haaland, Gakpo, Jackson, Solanke, Havertz. Because Havertz is obviously, I don't think he is an out-and-out striker. He's just being chucked in there to make up for Arsenal not having a.
Oh, look at that, Alex. Alex looks so disappointed.
No, I'm not. I just think Gakpo should be in front of Haaland. I'm being honest with you.
I don't think there's much in it to be last.
I thought he was going to say Solanke's got.
It's just one of those, isn't it? Whereby you start thinking about what kind of striker you want, because in the end, like someone like Haaland, unfortunately, well, he's prolific, right? His numbers speak for themselves. But if you were to really, really look into it, I don't like strikers that have no touch and don't contribute to the game. I just don't like them. So, people, break me, but I definitely would have Gakpo above Haaland, to be honest.
Just Gakpo scored 10 this season. Haaland scored 22.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the thing, isn't it?
The
This
problem
is something.
The problem with Haaland at the moment, and this is why he's had a lot of criticism. When Mamouche has been playing, you can see how free Man City look. Yeah. More the players are doing it. When Haaland's up front, you saw against Southampton. Look what happened. You know what I mean? It just seems to me that Mamouche just unleashed everyone. Just made people more free. You know what I mean?
Mamouche very much played like the Son regen of just cutting in, coming in from mainly he was on the left hand side, coming in, making that run past the striker. It just causes havoc. Just absolutely causes havoc with that. Just free running off the ball. I just remember Kane dropping in and just clipping the ball over the top every single time. It was like, but what I was saying earlier about the team. So the centre backs we had third. Look at this. And on some of them, you could even suggest we've been probably kind. So we haven't got a player in the top four at all in any forward play. And then there are people out there saying that we only need one or two.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm saying that the coach is really, really important right now. The coach is really, really important at the moment, and this is the thing.
I don't think it's just the coach either. I think it's the coaching staff, because if we're going to keep bringing in young players, like 21s and under, they need to come into a team where they're going to be coached and they're going to get better. We can't just keep hoping. And I think with Ange, one thing that I've said it before on here, when Austin played in goal, when we needed our third choice keeper to play, he played his first ever game for Spurs, got man of the match. We go and sign Kinski 2 days later, play him in a game. And I'm like, you've got someone there who can play. If that was me, every other youngster in that team should turn around and go, what is the point in being here? Because the geezer's he's played out of his skin, got man of the match, and it wasn't just a rubbish team. I think it was Newcastle or Liverpool we played. And I'm like, for me now, it's like if no youngsters are, he doesn't look like he wants to play Archie Gray in centre midfield. He's very hesitant to play him when he could have given him a rest and then he's played him otherwise.
Yep.
So for me, if there's any youngster in that Tottenham team who's looking to break into that first team, you've got to be looking at the manager going, I don't know where I'm going to get a chance here, because people have had a game, they've played well, and then they've been dropped because they've brought someone else in. So if we are going to change a manager, I just hope we bring in someone who is going to bring in a coaching staff with him that changes the whole dynamic and actually starts to improve our young players and give them that in training, because I don't think we get that now. I think it's all trying to give him players now, and we do need some experience with the youngsters, but we're going to try and give him players now that are ready to go in the Premier League when we've got all these youngsters that are good enough, and there's players in there. Your Archie Grays, you can see Bergval as a player in there, but I think to get Bergval to that next level, he needs to be coached and he needs a manager that's going to give him that.
I think he needs better players around him as well. I think that's another thing. But it's just to throw it out there. I know obviously there's talk about we may or may not be signing, but Mbeumo was one that a lot of fans wanted, and Eze. Now, if you had an Mbeumo and an Eze in here, they'd obviously go into these positions. Surely Mbeumo and Eze probably go into second place here, maybe.
Yeah.
It definitely
Eze would be arguably.
He goes there, doesn't he?
Top spots because of what he done in the FA Cup.
Yeah, there's an argument he's there, and then Mbeumo probably not a Salah level. And if Saka played all season, maybe not there, but he definitely goes in third. So all of a sudden, you go from having someone there to having someone there, and that's where I think that that's the big difference. I think this summer, this window, it needs to be this sort of level of player, because otherwise, what are we actually doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying 100%. Like even our front line, I can't remember who it was that was mentioning it. Every single time, obviously we know Johnson is Johnson, right? He's going to be at the back post at all times, but every single time our wingers get the ball, the first thing they think about is to pass the ball backwards. And it's like they don't have the instinct anymore of let me take my man on. And that changes a lot in a game, regardless of your manager. Bring in Thomas Frank. He's going to have a situation whereby instead of having Mbeumo, he has Johnson. So the transfer window, regardless of who you bring in, it's really, really vital, because when your first 11 starts at some point getting injuries, because every team gets injuries, who's coming in to fill the void? And it looks like our board is not understanding that, and that's what frustrates me. But that's a conversation for another time.
Right, I know there's a few here that need to pop off, so I just want to say you need to go now, yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. Thanks a lot for coming on to the show, Alex. Obviously, debut, appreciate that. Manny, have you got a time to stick around? We won't be going for too much longer.
Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit, depending on.
We'll only be on for another 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
But George, Alex, big up. Cheers for coming on. Really, really appreciate
always
it.
A pleasure, man. Thank you for having me back, bro. It's been a very, very good show. It's such a harsh reality to see Spurs have the second one. It's like I'm seeing the line of players, Spurs players at the back.
Honestly, when I was putting it all together, I was like, yeah, this ain't going to end well. Like, this is so bad.
Yeah, no, for real. But make sure you're smashing the likes, people, man. Make sure you're smashing the likes. Make sure you're subscribing, because I've seen there's like 40, 50 people been in there at one point. So make sure you're subscribing, helping the channel grow. Luke's real, I can't lie, real close to 1K, man. It's almost on 600. Get him up 600 by the end of this show, man. Everyone make sure they're subscribed. And yeah.
And the guest links are all in the description below. So make sure you go and drop all of them a follow too.
Big up, bro. Big up to everybody.
Cheers for coming on, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Big up, Luke. See you later. Take care, guys.
See you later. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so this is what one of the reasons why I say I wanted to do this was just to see what sort of signings we need to be making. And I think you're right. I think it's definitely a case of where we're going with them signings. If we're not going to go and sign anyone in this sort of category, then we need to bring in someone that can get the players we currently have from here into here. Yeah. And I think one of Ange's biggest problems, and I think you mentioned it earlier, Chris, is why he's not brought in coaching staff. It's a real strange one. I don't know why he does that. There doesn't seem to be any.
Luke, other than Ryan Mason, is there any? Did he bring in the rest of the coaching staff with him, or was there any of other ones?
No, Matt Wells was there. Matt Wells was already there as well. But all of the others so he don't basically. There's the way he operates is that he always goes into clubs and he has a brand new backroom staff, so he doesn't bring anybody with him. He basically, so obviously the staff that are there, other than Matt Wells and Ryan Mason, he brought to the club, but it weren't from what they worked previously. So
he didn't follow with him. Yeah, I know when he joined from Celtic, there he wanted to bring his assistant manager, I think, and Celtic
John Kennedy.
But Celtic said no, he ain't going nowhere basically. But this is Ryan Mason's got the West Brom job, I think. Now it's been confirmed.
Yeah, he's got it.
So that's one. So there's positions to be, and I mean, a team at Tottenham's stature as well, we should be having 7-8 coaches. There should be goalkeeping coaches, fitness coaches, set piecing coaches. We should have a big enough coaching staff load to be able to have like the time spent on all these players.
I agree, but I do think that's one of the big things that's let him down this year, and last year as well. Even so, I know he finished 5th, but he very rarely does one person get it right and everybody else is wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like if nobody else operates the way he's operating, either everyone is nuts and he's onto something, or he's not quite onto something and everyone else is right. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it is really, really strange. So, but for me, I think these are the sorts of stuff where he needs to be able to change. He needs to be able to adapt and change things and bring some new people in. And maybe Mason leaving is a signal for that to kind of be the case, where he can then bring in some new blood, if you like.
He has to. He has to. Like I've watched. I was reading The Athletic yesterday, and after the season that Man City have had, Pep has changed 3 of his coaching staff. Mm-hmm. 3 of them. Yeah. He's realized, you know what? I'm hearing the same messaging, and I need to change it. So I do not understand for the life of me. And I know obviously Ryan Mason has been forced upon him, just like he was forced upon Conte, just as he was forced upon all the other coaches. But I think there has to be a situation whereby, even if, and is what it is. I understand he says he doesn't bring his own coaches, but he has to have. We have to have, as a club, a situation where we do not allow someone to bring in coaches who are not at the level required. Yeah. Like Mal Jedinak. Come on, I'm not saying he hasn't got great ideas, but is he the level where he can challenge Ange? Bearing in mind he's played under Ange in the Australian national team. He was the player and Ange was the manager. Who is challenging Ange on certain decisions that he's making? And it's quite clear that he's not being challenged. Him coming out and saying we don't need a set piece coach. We are at a top level elite football. The margin is so small that you have to try and
0.01%. Yeah,
exactly. We have to try and get an advantage on our rivals. Bearing in mind we are playing in a league where the newly the newly appointed the new teams coming up have got money. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
It is a real strange one. As I say, I think that's where the changes need to take place. So I mean, in summary, as I say, we're looking at this now and we're saying that from our defensive setup, we're probably 3rd, 4th. It probably is a fair thing,
which is mental considering our defensive form. When you see how we defend, sometimes it's mental to think that we have got the 3rd or 4th potential best defense in the league, but the stats don't show that and performances don't show that. So when you look at the stats with when Vicario Porro
Romero, Van der Ven, and Udogie play, the stats do increase massively.
Yeah.
But what it also tells me as well is that availability is absolutely key. Like, if you look at, I know we've put Reece James in there, but that's more so off of what he can do. But if you look at all of the players really that are in these top, they play week in, week out.
Yeah, the top
They
level
play
as well.
every week. Vardy is there every week. Van Dijk is there every week. So they don't miss games. And that is it, more so in the defence. If you don't miss games, it's such a critical part of defending. Do you know what I mean? Like, as I said, Dan Burn might not even be in this if who's the centre back that got injured. Botman. If Botman plays, he might not. But Botman's not there, and then he comes in, he plays week in, week out. It's so key to anything. But this one here, I'm surprised on some of them that they're even not bottom really. Like, and that is how far we need to come from having the squad we have to the squad we need to get to.
I think I see someone in the comments say that it's a bit harsh on Johnson. And again, if you go by the stats, he would have had a good season. But when you watch him play, he looks lost most of the game for me, and then turns up at the back post and scores a goal. And I think if that's your stat, on paper you're going to look really good. But if you actually physically watch someone, it's quite hard to look at him and go, "What a player! He's such a he can change a game. He can do that." And whether he's been hindered by his injuries or not, and he doesn't want to. The pace that he had before was incredible, and it's still there. I just think he's a bit hesitant, as we've discussed many of times.
Yeah, but I've just pulled up, and so obviously in front of Johnson, you've got Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy played 35 Premier League games. He got 8 goals and 12 assists. Like, he's not. Brennan Johnson isn't there with nobodies. Like, I mean, well, Jacob Murphy, you could argue with nobody, but stats wise, he's been unbelievable this year. Saka has been ridiculous, even though he weren't injured. Marmoush effectively changed City's season because they looked like they were getting worse and worse, and he come in, and then the other one's Salah. So I understand what he's saying. You might look at it and go, "God, that's a little bit harsh on Johnson." But when you then look at the people that are in front of him, it's like, well, maybe it's not as harsh as you possibly think. Who else did I think that about? Was it Bergba? Oh no, Porro. I thought the same thing about Porro. I was like, you look at that and you go to top 6. Well, Porro's your 5th best set right back. But Porro's a good player. If you get him in a good system, he's a very, very good player. But actually, who's in front of him? Trent Alexander-Arnold's just gone to Real Madrid. As I say, for me, Reece James, if he's fit and he plays for 6-7 months, he's one of the best right backs in the world. Timber's been fantastic, and Livramento's a brilliant player as well. So it feels harsh, but then when you look at it, you go, yeah, maybe he's just in a group where there's a load of good right backs sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as I say, so for Johnson, I don't think I could put him any higher than that. I think it'd be
definitely not
a disservice to the rest of them. I can understand where I did see it as well, where it was coming from. But so, like, if Johnson was actually on the left wing, Johnson would potentially be in front of Neto. But it's just on the position that he's playing on the right hand side. And as I say,
I don't disagree. I see it in a comment, and I just thought, like, that's probably why he's down there, because his performance hasn't matched up with his stats. He's just essentially been in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Nicholas Jackson as well, to be fair. If you look at Nicholas Jackson's stats in the Premier League, he's 1 in 2. He's played 30 games, got 10 goals and 5 assists. And then if you was to look at Solanke's stats over the course of the season, because he scored quite a lot in Europe, I think he was joint top goal scorer in Europe. So his stats in the Premier League for Solanke's 27, 9 and 3. But in the Europa League, he's got 13 games, 5 goals, 4 assists. So in 13, he's got 9. So across the season, he's actually got pretty decent stats.
Yeah,
it's just it's the Premier League that you're looking at. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think to be honest, this has been really cool really interesting. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm not expecting you to say it was terrible, but I thought it was quite interesting to see how far we are off, because, as I say, there have been points in the season, and specifically recently, where I'm kind of like, do you know what? Maybe 1 or 2 players, and maybe we have got a pretty decent chance of getting up there. And then you look at stuff like this and you go, no, maybe we're not 1 or 2 players away.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Sorry.
Now go on.
Yeah, I've been shocked, to be completely honest. I don't know why, but obviously looking at it, when you actually have it in front of you, you realize actually, you know, regardless, I keep repeating this because obviously it's the whole point is about regardless of which manager is in, whether it is Ange or whether it's not Ange.
Yeah,
it's quite clear and it's glaring. We need reinforcement. I like Johnson with the when it comes to the fact that obviously he is at the right place at the right time. His movement, his positioning, you know, his tap-ins are not just a fluke, because if they were, everyone would do it. However, if we want to get on to, you know, to the next level, we need someone that can actually challenge him as well. And I think a lot of the players that we have are not being challenged. They know they're starting week in, week out if they're not injured. And because of that, the quality is we're not getting to the level that we need to get to. And I think this is really damning, genuinely. Yeah. And bear in mind, a lot of these teams, by the way, last point. A lot of these teams, we've just looked at this. We are in a lot of these positions, we are 5th or 6th best, right? And a lot of these teams are already paying a lot of money to improve the squad that they already have. Yeah.
And we're not including, like, that was the reason why I only done the top 5. But we're not including, I know obviously Cunha's gone and signed for United now, but we're not including every single player. So if we put 20 left wingers, I'm not saying that Son is clear of the other 15 clubs. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the reason why this all come about was just the Newcastle. I just look at that Newcastle midfield, and specifically not as much Joelinton, although I do think he's underrated. I do think he's a good player. But Tonali and Guimaraes, they've got Gordon, Isaac. If they go and get an Mbeumo and then a very, very solid central midfield, you go, that isn't a top 5 midfield. That's one that can challenge. And that's Newcastle. Like, we were in front of Newcastle a matter of a couple of years ago, and now for me, every single one of them start for us. It's amazing how quickly these things can turn around with a good or a bad window.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it's quite depressing.
It kind of is. I've just absolutely killed any more hope that we did have. But this is another reason, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is that some of the stuff that I've been saying about Ange is, if Ange is here or Ange isn't here, there are things that need to be improved. So Ange is not the reason it's not working. Ange is not the reason. You can argue he's part of a reason we're getting injuries. He's not the sole reason. The medical team needs to be improved. The whole Frank thing. Yeah, well, look at his net spend. Look at how he manages to get rid of Ivan Toney and bring in a Wissa. Mate, the manager is not the one doing that solely. There's a recruitment team behind him. We need to improve that area.
Yeah.
If you turn around and said, like, I've been saying this about like Kane and things like that. People saying about Romero. If we sell Romero, we can just go and we'll go and get someone just as good. And I'm like, I don't believe we will. I think we'll recruit wrong. We'll get someone who's not as good, and then we'll keep doing that until we get to a stage where we go, why have we got so many bad players? And it's like, because we keep buying the players that are just not as good as the last one that left.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a Frank going into, and it was Areola, Bournemouth do exactly the same thing. They do it well. They recruit well. They sell a Solanke. They bring in Ivan Nilsson, whoever his name is. What did we do? We sold Kane. We put Son up front. Like this, and so that's what I'm saying when I say to people is that it's easy saying, "Oh, he does this and manages it really well." It's like, yeah, but he's got a very good team behind him, and we don't have that structure. So how would Frank deal with that? With losing Kane, would he then be able to adapt and play a Son up front or whatever? So I just think we're in a sliding doors moment, and we've said it quite a lot. But
agreed, 100%. And I keep saying, because I know that there's a lot of rhetoric going around saying Ange wanted the youth players, etc. But we know, if Conte wasn't able to leave his mind on our recruitment policy. I really, really doubt that Ange would have walked into the chairman's room and said, actually, you know, this is what I want. Yeah.
He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I think this season the club, from the players to the manager to the coaching, medical, scouting, all the way up to the top, can all probably turn around and say, what a bad season we've all had. The players have not performed. The manager's tactics have been all over the place. The medical staff have potentially, I've heard things about them, that the players being brought back. There's been a lot of that. And I think as a club on a whole, it's not been a great season, and we can all agree with that. But winning the Europa League at the end, because he's prioritised that, shouldn't mask over the whole lot. Yes, it gives the fans what they want and everyone's happy and the players have won something and it's good. But ultimately, it should be a case of, well, let's review the season and where did we go wrong? We went wrong everywhere. So we need to try and figure out how we're going to get better everywhere.
100%.
Having this here, when you've got Champions League next season, this just proves to me that we need a squad. We don't need a good 11. We need a good, I think we played, it was Liverpool, the first leg of the semi-finals of the Cup. And you looked at our bench, and I think we were just starting to get some injuries back, I think maybe. But you looked at our starting 11, and it was okay. Liverpool's was good. And then you look at Liverpool's bench, and I was like, wow. Like, they can bring on they could just keep bringing on good players. The same as Man City over the years. They've got their starting 11 is unbelievable. And then you look at their bench and you go, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? But then to bring them on with half hour to go, you're just replacing world-class players with world-class players. And I think that's been Tottenham's issue for a long time now. But this now shows that we need to start having players in each position that are always challenging to start on that team. It's not a case of, you can have a few youngsters in the team who get the odd chance and get some rest if we're playing some games and we can afford to bring them in. But I think that what we've just done there shows that we need to have a squad of 15, 16 players that are all challenging to start in that team and all as good as each other.
Yeah, but I also think that, and this is what I've been saying for a few weeks now, is that we've been focusing on the squad game for the last 2 years, but we've been doing it wrong, because what we've been doing is signing players that improve the squad. We don't need that anymore. We need players that improve the 11, and then the players that are in the 11 then become part of the squad. Like what Manny said earlier about Johnson. There is a lot of, not hatred, but there's a lot of negativity towards Johnson in the fan base at times. And I can understand where they're coming from. But if you went and signed Mbeumo, I know he's probably going United, but let's just use an example. We go and sign Mbeumo, and then Johnson's your player off the bench. That completely changes things.
Yeah.
So you go from going, Johnson's not quite a starter, all of a sudden you got Mbeumo, hang on a minute, after 60 minutes you're bringing on Johnson running out of tired defence. Things change. And that's where we need to get around to, is don't keep improving the squad, improve the 11, which in turn improves the squad. But you're just doing it in a different way. That's how I think we need to look at it.
One player I'd like to see come to Spurs this transfer window is Luka Modric. I think what a player to be around the young midfielders that we've got, and a player, even if you bring him on for the last 20 minutes of the game, like, he'll still bring some quality. He's obviously he's not as quick, and he's obviously his age doesn't help him. But I definitely think having him on the bench would be, and then in the training ground around the other young kids, I think that'd be a great free transfer for us.
But he can also play. He can play.
Oh, you could start him. He won't. I don't think he'd make the full 90 minutes. But what I'm saying is, if you've got Modric on the bench and you want to play your Bentancurs, or if you make a few other signings, I think having him first of all around the training ground and around your Bergvals and just your sort of Archie Grays, and that they have that. Oh, it's him, and they're asking him questions, and they're taking notice of him. And then having him on the bench, if you take off, as you say, if you've got 20 minutes and you're 1-0 down or it's 1-1, bring him on. Bring on a Luka Modric.
I think he's going AC Milan.
It's a shame. It would have been nice to have brought him back.
But even forget about the ex-Spurs link as well. Forget it.
Exactly.
Even, he would be able to come in and do something now 100%, no doubt about it. I mean, imagine being like Bergvall and Gray and turning up to training and you've got Luka Modric there. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, and I don't think we do that enough as well. I think we need to bring in players that mean a lot to the club and bring in players that can set standards and everything. Like that Edgar Davids that we signed, I remember being young and just being like, if we sign Edgar Davids, I don't care if he's like 43, it's Edgar Davids. Do you know what I mean? And I think we should definitely be doing that. But the problem we've got is that we were linked again today with another youngster, another 19-year-old. It's almost like, when are we going to learn?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's been any like breaking stuff since we've come on, because there was, just before we came on, there was some breaking news that apparently we're looking at a £5 billion buyout. Whether you believe it or not is a different matter, but there was rumours that
I think
saying that
it was a minority stake.
Yeah, but I think it totaled, the value would mean that it was the club was valued at 50 million, 5 billion. Honestly, it's more that Daniel Levy sacks Postecoglou than if it is then he retains him. So they're saying now that it looks more likely that Postecoglou will be sacked. And it also been reported that they may also look at bringing Solomon back. And if you haven't already, I reached out to a Leeds fan who's on YouTube, and he gave a little glimpse into Solomon's season, and that's in the video. So if you haven't already, go take a look at that when this live stream has ended, because it was quite interesting, to be honest. They rave about him. They all want him back. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a strange one. There's still no official line from anyone. I keep seeing people saying that tomorrow will be the day, but then they retweet that tomorrow. There was been a little bit of links to João Palhinha today as well, because he's come out and basically said he needs to monitor to see what sort of situation he's going to be in, because he signed for Bayern and they basically didn't play him. But other than that, there's been nothing else that's really come out. So it's a real strange one. What's your gut feelings on it before we wrap up, guys? What do you think is going to happen in the next, say, week or so, Chris? Do you reckon there'll be sign-ins? What do you think will happen? Paratici?
In the next week or so, the managers, that has to be done within the next 2 days. We need to know what's going on with the manager in the next couple of days. It should have been done by now, to be fair. And then once that's settled, then that's when I think we can get serious with planning the squad. Players are being brought in, and if there's any departures as well. I think all stuff at a high level will just be done naturally over time. I don't think there's 1 minute Levy's going because we're going to accept a £4 billion bid for the club, and then it's Levy's not going nowhere. So I'm trying to stay away from all the hype and all the bits and pieces that comes in, whether you call it hype or nonsense. But
probably a bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think the manager first, because you can't start buying players unless the manager, you know who your manager is, what system they're playing, where they want to go and how they want to do it. That for me, it shouldn't be a week, it should be 2 days. By Saturday night, we should know Ange is in, Ange is out, and then we start moving on.
Yeah. So you think there'll be a new manager by the end of the week? A director of football, or you expect the future to be resolved in terms of Ange gone?
Yeah.
Director of football. Do you think that's going to be done?
I think that's done. I think he's coming back, Paratici. I don't think I think he'll be back in. With that though, I don't think he's a fan of Ange. So if going by that, I think Ange goes, and I think if Ange goes quickly after that, you'll see that Paratici has signed a deal and he's back, because why else would he sign if he doesn't agree with the manager that's in place now?
I agree with that. Even if you're Ange in or Ange out, if Fabio Paratici's been brought in to run it and you don't want Ange, you can't then keep Ange as the manager. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And who's going to be the first signing? I know mine is. I know we're going to make first signing. I know it'll be Kyle Walker-Peters.
I'll beat you to that. I actually think Taos is going to get announced before Kyle Walker-Peters.
There's a possibility.
I've seen that we're trying to loan him back with an obligation to buy him next season, And I'm like,
they're rejecting that.
Ashley, because when he was here, he didn't want him. He turned around and said to Levy, I advise against bringing him in. That's well documented. Kick the criminal away. Same to you, Manny. What do you think is going to happen? Manager, director of football.
I agree. I think they have to sort that out like ASAP. In any, like in any financial markets, when your company is under so much speculation, just keeping quiet just kills your shares. I do not understand for the life of me how they're allowing the rumor mill to just keep growing and growing. It makes zero sense. And that's the thing. Whether you think Ange should stay or whether he should go, just make a decision. You know what I mean? Just make a decision. And that has to happen in the next day or two, genuinely. In relation to like what's happening at Spurs, even if there is a bid for anything in relation to the sale of the club, I don't think it's going to happen I think it's going to take months for things to work out anyway. Whether you believe Levy is going to get the boot based on that, again, I just don't think it's as quick as people think it's gonna happen. If it is true that it happens, so we need to get the manager in place. In my opinion, again, as I said, football is not a linear game. If it was a linear game, we wouldn't have gone from 5th to 17th, right? So I do think that the fact that Ange has been able to win the Europa League, he deserves a little bit of time. I do agree with Chris with the fact that there should be a top to bottom review. So Ange should be holding and should be able to explain what he's going to do different next year. That should allow him the time to stay on, right?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But there should be that review and that should take place. I do think that he's managed to get himself a little bit of time. So hopefully, I hope so. Anyway,
don't you think that whole we'll do a review at the end of the season? I just find it baffling that is something.
Oh, I have a theory for that, by the way. I think I have a theory for this. I think they were sacking him. In their mind, they were sacking him regardless of the win or loss.
I think they wrote the cup off. I think they was already planning for us to not win that Europa League.
Yeah.
Yes, they were sacking him, and I think him winning and seeing. I don't know whether you guys were at the parade, but obviously,
yeah,
all at the back, and I think them seeing the reaction has thrown them, whereby now they're not sure what to do. I genuinely think they had in their mind they had sacked him, and to me it's like, okay, go on.
No, but the whole review thing is strange to me in terms of do we not think that after Man City won the treble, they all sat round and went, right, let's do a review. Where could we make improvements?
Yeah, 100%.
That should happen every. I don't care if we won the Europa League and won the Premier League. There still should have been a review at the end of the season to go, right, where can we improve? Because you said there's no linear is not what happens in football. So regardless of what year you've had and how you've done, there'll always be some places where you can go, well, actually, if we scored a few more set pieces, then that should just be a standard. It's almost like we're talking about groundbreaking things here. We're going to have a full review, and it's like, yeah, you should have been doing that last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. Like, it's just baffling. But again, talk about being a serious club. That's why, for me, I don't think we are sometimes.
Yeah, agreed.
All year long, they keep Ange. Well, we can just keep saying that we're European champions, Lord Rodney. And that half makes me feel a little better. Being on hasn't stopped the club doing their business. They've confirmed the targets before the transfer window's open. I understand what you're saying, but if they appoint a different manager, then that manager might not want the players that they sign. This is what we're saying.
Need to be ahead to then see who's coming in.
Unless they know, unless everybody knows. So it could be that Frank knows that he's a manager and Ange knows that he's gone, and then therefore when they're speaking to players, they already know what's kind of happening. But I find that impossible because I think that someone would have leaked it somewhere. You'd have some sort of sniff that this is exactly what's happening, whereas most people, again, nobody knows. Right, guys, I think that's enough. We're nearing heading to midnight now. So really, really appreciate everyone that's been in. We've had quite a lot of chat going on. I think it was quite a good one looking at how poor our squad is, which has made me a bit annoyed now. I'm not going to go to bed straight away because I'm going to be sitting there thinking about how many improvements we need to make. But it is
You'll
what
be on
it is.
Football Manager with a new update, trying to sign the players that you want to sign and reviewing everything.
That tends to be what I do.
Everyone. Yeah,
I'm going to be throwing out loads of names on X over the coming days about wonder kids that I've signed that Spurs need to keep an eye on. Massive thank you to Manny for coming on. Chris, as always, he's effectively now a co-host after a little issue that I had the other week where this internet cut out and he had to take control. So massive thank you, guys. Everybody's links are in the description. George, Alex, everything like that. So please go and drop them a follow and like. Manny, starting up the channel, you're going to kind of get going soon.
Yeah, 100%. Please start following, and the videos will start coming.
100%. Start that up. Manny's the good luck charm. He joins YouTube, and all of a sudden we're winning trophies. So he's the main man. That's why you need to drop him a follow. Massive thank you to everyone. Please like, subscribe, and as always, come on, you Spurs. See you there, guys.